All right. Assuming Jim is with us, although muted, I am going to call the meeting to order. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the Town of Millis Finance Committee meeting of Wednesday, June 10th. I'm Jody Garzon, the chair. With us so far tonight are members Doug Riley, Pete Berube, and Kathy McGinnis, and Jim Borgman. They also have with us Nate Maltinsky, and we have Aaron Underhill, Deirdre Gilmore, who handles everything for us, Carol Johnston, Jim McKay, and we have Mike Gazinski joining us as well. So on our agenda tonight is to hear from Mr. Maltinsky about the Community Preservation Fund's article review and discussion, and then to review the June 2020 warrant articles and discuss those and make our final recommendations. And then we have some old business, new business to attend to and approve our meeting minutes from May 27th and June 3rd. So let's jump into it. Nate, why don't you tell us about the warrant articles that you have information?
Okay, as I touched on, Nate Maltinsky, Mills Community Preservation Committee Chair. As I touched on at our budget presentations last month, we did have a potential project, and it did come to fruition on May 14th. We had a Zoom meeting with all committee members, and it was presented by Michael Rand, and he's representing the Mills Girls Softball League and Youth Baseball. And basically, it's funding for restoration of the town park fields that have become in disarray and are a safety hazard due to fencing that's been torn away, field conditions, and over by the new playground, there's no fence between the playground and the baseball field, so foul balls and whatnot can fly over and hit children and whatnot. So they're going to do extended backstops over the baseball diamonds, and a whole array of things to the field. The original estimate he came in with back in February was for $155,000. And he only had one bid, so we asked him to come back and with a couple bids, and they came back with another bid of $74,558.49. That being that also the planning board had a $25,000 fund available towards this project, which they applied to it. So the committee voted 5-0 to appropriate the $74,558.49 for this project. We felt it as a committee that it was well worth it, and it was a safety hazard. And as you know, the monies available for the field are not around. So Jim McKay represented Mr. Rand also, and they've been in discussions. And they came with a plan to get the work done, and so we thought it was a worthy article to put forward at this time.
Great, thanks. What's the anticipated time frame on this?
If funding is approved at town meeting, they anticipate working this summer on it. Seeing that sports have been limited this year, I believe that they're ready to go. Mr. Rand does work for a similar type company that does this type of work, although their company will not be doing it, but he is familiar with the process, and they plan on doing the getting going as soon as they can.
Great. Other questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Kathy.
Through you, could I ask Chairman Nate, was anything destroyed because of the new school building project, Nate?
Not that I'm aware of. I didn't hear, I know they did remove oh no, they added a fence along where the old Clyde was, I believe.
Okay.
Is that correct, Jim?
Yes, that's correct. The school building project, they put separated the new parking lot and the field, which was a great help because that cut that bill, because that was included in that original $155,000 bid. And once the school project did that, it was greatly appreciated.
Thank you. And one last question, if I might, to the town administrator, Madam Chair.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm just bringing back a bad memory of Oak Grove Farm, and a project that they had proposed to do was denied by the two former town administrators ago because prevailing wages were not being used. And I just want to, is that still the practice, Mr. Guzinski, or on town property? So, you know, we can let Oak Grove Farm know they can start working on a new field as well.
I would, Madam Chair, through you, I would have to confirm that through town council. But you're referring to the $50,000 for work that was approved through an earmark?
No, I'm sorry, Mike. This was years ago when Charlie Aspinwall was the town administrator, and the Oak Grove Farm was going to build a flag football field way behind the farmhouse. Nate might remember this. And it was all set to go, but then Mr. Aspinwall said, you know, they were going to be using Alan Works, who does a lot of work over at Oak Grove on various things. And then he was told that, well, Mr. Aspinwall said they had to go with prevailing wage. And that it went from a $12,000 project to well over $42,000. So as you can see, you can't do anything like that when you're working on, you know, little volunteer fields and everything. So I just wanted to know, you know, I'm not putting a fly in the ointment or anything. I just want to figure out and help out Oak Grove Farm to see what they can continue to work on. It has nothing to do with the 50,000, Mike.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, I'd be certainly happy to discuss.
Mike, I can clarify that right now. The two bids that were received, both contractors were asked to put prevailing wage in, and both of them have the fencing and all field work have prevailing wage rates for this project.
Right. My understanding is the only exception to the prevailing wage rate regulations when you're building anything on town property is the first exception would be is if you're using volunteers, which aren't getting paid at all to do the work, or if you're using owner-run businesses that the owner or owners are doing the work. They don't actually have employees. Like say an electrician that works for himself could come in and do the work at whatever rate that electrician wants to charge. But if they have assistant electricians that they work with or work for them, there would be some, you'd have to look at the prevailing wage laws in regards to paying those individuals. But I can be happy to look at, you know, case by case if there's individual issues with trying to build certain things on Oak Grove or other town properties, trying to do that with limited budgets and working with volunteers. I certainly understand the frustration. I'd be very willing to try to help guide any board or committee to try to go through that process. I understand it's cumbersome and difficult at times.
Just one comment to Jim McKay. Jim, you'd find that humorous because it was Alan Works and his son, and they own the business. And there could have been a flag football field behind Oak Grove Farm now if the former town administrator had taken your thinking, Mike. So thank you very much, and sorry to bring up something that doesn't have to do with the project at hand.
No, thank you, Kathy. I think it's important for us to know that, you know, the scope of this, and it's helpful to know that the contractors are intending to use prevailing wages. So that's good.
Jody, if I may.
Sure.
Any project that the CPC funding is applied to is all prevailing wage. Okay. So that's typically what drives up the cost. And there's a scale of, and it changes every year, and it's depending on what trade it is too. from electrical to mason to equipment operators to whatever.
Yep.
So there's a wide range. So anything that's done with CPC funding is prevailing wage.
Okay, unless it's volunteer.
Unless it's
Right,
all-
Nate?
Yeah.
As you can attest.
Never done any of that.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Nate on Article 14? All right, and Article 13, can you just explain what the Henry F. Walling map is?
That is a one-of-a-kind map that was given to the library, and it is not going to get a full restoration. It's going to get just a partial restoration where it's going to just be stabilized so it doesn't deteriorate anymore and be in protective state. And then I think they're going to make copies of it. And this gentleman from this is the gentleman that made them only made a limited amount. So we thought it was worthwhile, and it's kind of a small amount that money to be spent on the restoration for it. So it's a really pretty map, and thought it's worthwhile for history sakes to restore it and keep it. It'd be displayed at the library.
And it's a map of what?
I'm sorry. It's a map of Millis and Medway, which is all Medway at the time. And I don't recall the date. I think it's from 1830s or early 1800s.
Great. Other questions for Nate on this? All right. Is there anything else we need to know, Nate?
I don't think so. So
Okay.
that should be it. And hopefully see everybody at town meeting.
Yeah. It'll be an unusual experience.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks. All right. Next up on our agenda is a discussion of the warrant articles and reviewing them. So Deirdre sent out the article list for us. Mr. Gazinski, I don't know if you want to note if there's anything new that we have in there, or any changes have been made since our last meeting.
I don't believe there's been any real changes since your last meeting. I did have town council review the document. And I don't believe any changes were really made to the document of any substance. Carol, feel free to jump in if I missed anything. But I believe that it's pretty similar in all important details to the last draft you saw. As you know, it's been reduced down to 17 articles per the recommendation of the town moderator. And I did also send a final motion list to Deirdre earlier today. The one note I'd like to make on that is Article 2. Article 2 is the article that looks to transfer sums of money within the current fiscal year to balance budgets. I believe it looks like at this time that I'll be working with the finance director over the next week or so to wrap up the list of transfers, and with a hope that they would be approved by the board and then submitted to approved by the select board and submitted to the finance committee by your meeting on the 24th, which I believe is the same night as your meeting, and ask that you approve those transfers at that time. But we'll get those out to you well prior to the meeting, so that you have time to review those. So there's a chance that we may be just recommending that we pass over Article 2 if we're able to handle all those through interdepartmental transfers. So right now, Article 2 is there as just a backup in case the unexpected occurs between now and town meeting. So I just want to explain why that motion is not complete.
So in terms of our report, I'm assuming that, we'll say to be recommended at town meeting, but the warrant will just have that kind of placeholder article without any detail as to, it's just to transfer available sums, and then we'll discuss what those are at town meeting.
Right. The warrant article, is as you had originally seen it, just as a sum of money. And I would anticipate that the same evening that the 24th will be requesting that the Finance Committee approve the transfers would be the same evening we would notify you on whether or not we would be requesting any action on Article 2 other than to pass over the article. And I think the chances are more likely than not that we will be passing over Article 2, but again, it's there just in case the unexpected happens. So I would recommend that the Finance Committee list that as to be determined at town meeting.
Okay. And then if there are amounts that we are recommending at town meeting, it would seem to make sense to have a handout for folks that would detail those.
That we do that, we can easily make a couple hundred copies of a one-page document to explain those.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Just people don't like to have things sprung on them or have to listen to us explain what it is. Seeing it in writing is always a lot more helpful.
So, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the Finance Committee has either on the articles or the motions. And as I mentioned, the Finance Director is on the line as well in case there are any questions on the number.
Well, I think let's go through the motions. There's only 17, so I haven't had a chance to really read through it just yet. So for Article 1, it seems like those are pretty set. That the amounts haven't really changed.
Nope, we've just got these funding sources are listed above.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Pete.
Which document are you reviewing currently?
It is called June 2020 Town Meeting Motions, June 3rd.pdf.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I know I opened the tabs ahead of time. So.
They were all over my computer.
Yeah. We talked about 2. In what was sent to us, there were looked like a change in enterprise fund budgets.
No.
No, is that just a breakdown?
I'm not sure what you were sent, other than what's in the motion. The enterprise funds from the original submissions back in February, Mr. McKay added reserve fund lines to the expense lines. And we also adjusted for the indirect costs.
Yes, so the first page of that is the indirect costs.
Madam Chair, so what I did is I just sent out, because they were updated, so you could have them.
Okay.
There's no major changes.
Okay, thank you. It's a lot of numbers to look at, so it's helpful to focus my attention.
I think Carol summarized exactly what changed.
All right, thank you. Now I need to get back to the right tab. So, so what we have in the motion is from a $35 million budget, about 34 million from taxation. And then we have ambulance fund, perpetual care interest, sale of cemetery, you know, the different funds, and then the transfers from sewer fund, water fund, stormwater fund, indirect costs to the general fund. So that's kind of the motion that we'll make on the main budget article. And then we have the operating budgets for sewer, water, and stormwater. That's articles 4, 5, and 6.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just one quick question for clarification. When we list these in the motions like this, do the expense lines primarily reflect interest, principal and interest costs?
On any of the enterprise funds, it includes all of the expenses associated with them other than the salary. So the salaries are one line, and then all expenses are included in the second line.
So and maybe Jim can answer this better, most of the expenses for water and sewer on that specific line item, the majority of those are principal and interest, are they not?
So all the, if you look way down at the bottom of it, there's a, it's indirect, the indirect cost, right above the indirect cost, there's 3 lines where the interest, short-term, long-term debt, and that's for projects that have already been bonded by the treasurer collector. And everything else above that is expense, daily expenses for the department.
That must be on a document that I don't have in front of me.
Yeah, that's the ones that were just sent out. It has the, like Carol stated, the first one is salaries up top with overtime, and then everything below, you know, longevity, everything covers out of that. And then right below it is all the expenses. And in the expense line, there is long-term and short-term debt in that
Madam Chair.
pays for all the projects.
Yes.
I think we might be able to help Doug if he looks at the email from Deirdre Gilmore on Friday, the 5th of June, sent at 10:04.
That was a long time ago. Okay, I'll take your word for it that it's there, and I'll look it up so we can keep moving.
It is there. Right?
Yeah. CRP, CD, O, and M costs are what?
That's
Charles
sewer-
River?
Correct.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so it's, you know, and the Charles River costs are pretty significant when it comes to the sewer division's expenses.
Correct, but if you look back, I mean, that's actually gone down. They went through their renovation, and the cost of that has dropped over the past couple of years. And actually, we just got a credit, and we lowered the rates from January till now.
That's great.
Yep.
All right, and then, you know, stormwater, we only have a couple of years to look at. But
Madam Chair,
yes, Kathy?
could I just ask sort of a ancillary question to the town administrator? The status of that report that came out regarding the splitting of fees and everything for the enterprise funds, is that on a future agenda item or anything for the select board?
Yes, the answer to that is yes. The
Okay.
consultants, when they made their report, had indicated that insofar as the indirect costs were concerned, they had agreed to come back and do work with the town officials at no additional charge to the town to put together, really building up from scratch, a new indirect cost model and calculation model. So that's something that we're planning on working on over the summer with them. so that the board can have ample time to review that and implement that prior to FY22.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Other questions before we move on from enterprise funds? All right, then we move on to consent article. So we don't have an amount on personnel plan. Is that correct? Or is on the article list it says TBD?
When you say an amount,
Well, it's just an amendment. It doesn't have a dollar amount attached to it.
right.
Okay.
Does the finance committee have a copy of the updated personnel plan, the schedule?
I think that was in a previous meeting that it was provided to us in our meeting
I
materials.
wanted to make sure that everyone had received a copy of that. I know I had gone over, just noted a few of the items to be noted of change, and there weren't that many.
Yeah.
As I had said, and the select board approved the 2.5% increase for the 3 full-time employees that are covered by that to match the union contract, as well as there's been some adjustments to the inspection department stipends, actually mostly reduced stipends based on some a new process that the building commissioner wants to put forward that makes more sense. So those are really the key changes to the personnel plan.
Okay.
And adjustments for minimum wage.
Right. Right. And then, all of the other items in that consent agenda with the revolving funds, the community preservation fund, and their different accounts. Those are all standard articles. Does anyone have any questions on those? I know it's a lot of numbers, but like I say, we basically just recommend approval of all of these authorizations. Excuse me, every year.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to answer Mike's earlier question. I don't know, I do remember that this was discussed in terms of item 1 in Article 7, but I don't know that I have ever been provided that personnel plan spreadsheet. And really, the only reason I'm asking is whether if I have to have been provided it, then please do, just so it doesn't get questions later. But I don't think I've ever seen it. Perhaps I haven't and haven't looked at it, but I would verify if it's ever been sent. I don't think I've looked at it. Maybe somebody else can.
Right, we'll check on that.
that.
If we can't confirm that it's been emailed out, then we'll send out a fresh copy tomorrow morning.
I think it's just a matter of dotting the I's and crossing the T's to say that it's been provided. I'm not questioning it.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, and it's always helpful that, we have these items in our meeting materials so that we can go back and refer to them. Thank you, Deirdre, all your work in organizing that for us.
Welcome.
But sometimes it's going to be like a needle in a haystack when we're going back through past meetings to see, to find documents. So if we don't have it, it would be helpful to have it. And Article 8, independent audit. I don't think anyone has pressing questions about that. Article 9 is the capital item article, and there haven't been any other changes to that since our last meeting. That's correct?
I went over the change at your last meeting. There's been no changes to the article since.
Okay. And we have the details on the funding mechanism in the motion there, from free cash, water enterprise, sewer enterprise, and whatnot.
Yes.
All right. And then Article 10, school leases, computer leases, sorry. And Article 11 is the DPW garage, the appropriating unexpended money to basically put in the contingency fund for that construction project. as we talked about at our last meeting, I think. And 12 is the water tank contract article. So this is just, so the funds for that are in the capital item article, and this is the approval of the lease.
Correct.
Okay. Or of the contract, shall we say. Yeah.
It authorizes the selectmen to enter into a contract, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have the 13 and 14, which we already discussed tonight, of the CPC articles. And then we have the property interim year inspections and revaluations. And that, just so I can remember, that the funds for that go to an outside firm, which helps with that revaluation process.
Right, correct.
Okay. And then we have Article 16 with our Medicaid and Medicare reimbursement, which pays multiple dividends. And then the transfer of another 75,000 into the unemployment insurance fund. As I look at this, Mike, do you think that 75,000 is sufficient, or are we going to be refunding again come November?
I believe it's sufficient.
Okay.
I believe, well, what I will say is, based on if we're able to keep our current budget and our current staffing levels as projected in this budget, that will be sufficient.
Okay.
But if the revenue numbers come out far less than we're anticipating, then that will have to be reviewed along with everything else.
Okay. Yep. And I think it's worth it to note that even if we're trying to save money on payroll, we have to be aware of what it might do to the unemployment insurance fund. That it's not just a subtraction number, that there might be, there's a differential there that we have to be aware of.
Absolutely.
All right. Any questions for Mike and Carol as we, before we roll into making recommendations? Pete?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Question is for, I guess, for either Carol or Mike, is if there's been any news from the state on state aid or any other revenue that the state would provide.
I guess I'd begin by saying we have not received any updated information about general state aid or federal aid, other than the work we've been doing on the CARES Act for the $729,000 related to COVID costs for the town. That's been the main focus, and we've had conversations with several state officials about the CARES Act, as well as a federal contractor for some FEMA assistance funds related to the COVID impacts as well. But there's been no update as far as state figures, and I think we're thinking the earliest we'll get any concrete feedback from the state will be sometime in the latter part of July, would be my estimation.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I might ask Mike Kuzinski a question regarding that. Was the CARES Act, was the filing done already, or is it still in the works?
The filing has been completed. We've been, Carol and I were playing phone tag with one of the state officials on just clarifying some things on the application, but it has been filed, and the deadline to file was June 5th for the fiscal year 20 expenses. So we did get that in time, and again, we're still working with the state officials to make sure everything is all set on the application. But it has been filed, and we are in, we're in the docket, we're in the queue with the other towns that have submitted, and we'll have to wait and see on some of it as it progresses. A lot of the application is based on FY21 expenses, which we obviously have not expended yet. So it's going to be a moving target. And we're also waiting to see if the federal government broadens the scope of the funds and how they can be used. So we're waiting on that as well. So there's still a lot of unknowns there, but it has been filed.
And another question, are you allowed to share what the amount is that the town filed?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We can send a copy of the spreadsheet of what the filing was. You know, Carol and I can work on that tomorrow to get that out to the committee if you'd like to get a copy of that.
And lastly, if money comes in through that, Mr. Kaczynski, where does that go towards FY21, or does it pay back the bills so there would be sort of money left over to say, or how is that determined?
Well, that's an excellent question. That's something that Carol.
Oh God, that's the first one I've asked.
Okay.
I can say
So,
that.
Carol.
yeah,
But Carol and I were working on that today. Carol mostly, but she was working on putting together the documentation for the state for COVID-related deficit spending. So basically allows us to spend funds on COVID-related items, knowing that we're gonna receive the federal CARES Act funds, so that we won't have our free cash hit when we close out the year and get our free cash certified. So basically, we're able to set those expenses aside, and that way it'll help our free cash number in the fall. And that's essentially, I think, what you're getting at is those funds. It'll help our free cash number in the fall by being able to set these funds outside of our regular budgeting process because of the special legislation. The Department of Revenue is allowing us to deficit spend for COVID-related items as we wait for the actual federal grant money to actually come in, which could take some time.
right. So what the guidance that the Department of Revenue has given us is that we are to set up 2 special revenue accounts, one for FEMA and one for the CARES Act. All money or expenses that we believe are FEMA related would be charged to those accounts, and anything for the CARES Act would be charged to the CARES Act one. When they go to do free cash at the end of the year, though, if either of those accounts are in deficit, they won't be applied against we won't be penalized on the free cash. So we won't help we can't add any monies to our FY21 budget for this CARES Act or the FEMA reimbursement, but any expenses that are directly associated with those won't be charged to our normal budget anyway. They'll go directly to these 2 revenue accounts, special revenue accounts.
Okay. Well, that'll be fun to keep track of. All right. Any other questions before we move on to recommendations on the articles? All right. Hearing none. I'm going to start entertaining motions for recommending approval of articles, starting with Article 1.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Pete.
I move that we vote to recommend Article 1, which is the transfer of free cash in the sum of $901.70, and transfer from the sewer enterprise reserves the sum of $154.62 to pay for unpaid bills as listed in the final articles as currently drafted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 1 as has been described. Further discussion? All in favor? We're gonna
Aye.
probably have to go in order here to
All
say
right.
aye through this, unless everyone knows how to use emoticons. So I'll say aye. Doug?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Article 2, I think it makes sense to make our recommendation at town meeting for that since we don't have all the details.
I agree.
Okay. Article 3.
This is the budget.
Do you
My
want me to?
only thought on the budget piece is I'm still concerned about the police not being, this is the budget, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The police not being fully funded and waiting for November to do it, as I've stated. But I'm concerned this year anything to confuse it with general population feelings right now, I don't want to appear to be putting extra money from stabilization into the police. I don't want to appear to be amending to defund. I don't want to appear to make any of those type of things look like. So it might be best, even though it really bothers me, to realize we don't have enough money in the police budget to pay our police as they stand right now. And we're hoping, counting on, and assuming that town meeting will pass a transfer in November to allow us to do that. But I'll move to approve the budget as written.
I echo your sentiments on several fronts. So, do I have a second?
Is this in stone at this point? Or is there a chance that this might need to be changed?
I would say based on past experience, there's always a chance it's going to get changed. We had it changed 3 years ago when they found $50,000 we wanted to give to the Council on Aging in the library, but we voted against that. So there's every year it has a potential of changing.
Yeah, we can revote if it does.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that at least for going to print, I'd like to have a recommendation of approval on this. And if we have to change our recommendation in a nuanced, due to some minor change, then we can do that.
Second Craig's motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 3, which is the FY21, right? FY21 operating budget, as described in the warrant and the motions. Any further discussion on this?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Pete.
I'm going to be voting no on this article. It's really just, I don't think I think the article is going to pass. I suspect it will. I am really just voting along the lines of the inputs that I've provided for the last month in terms of, I really think that we should have leaned further forward in being more proactive and a little less optimistic on what the federal government could do, what the state government could do. And I think there are other options that have passed us by that we can no longer do, but there's still another option, which is to pass the 1/12 budget and carry on with the FY20 levels of funding until we know more. I think that's the more responsible thing to do. I don't know that that's going to get much traction in this committee or in town meeting. It hasn't for the select board. But I'm going to vote, I'm not trying to be grandstanding, but I'm going to vote my conscience and how I feel, and I'm going to vote no.
Yeah, and Jody, I take the opposite view with it. Having read what just came out from the state with them cutting local aid, which is only $1 million ish. Carol can correct me. Ish could be 10,000 either way, but or 100,000 either way. But and talk about not cutting Chapter 70 at this moment. That means I'm afraid my fear is we're implementing 5% cuts or 10% cuts to the town hall staff, and we're going to lose $110,000 out of our budget total if the state comes through with the way they're talking now. So I'm not saying that I totally believe that, but I think there's as much reason to be optimistic as pessimistic based on what I'm reading from the state too. So I was concerned. I'm going to vote yes on this, but I was concerned that we might be burdening some people with cuts for numbers that aren't being supported by anything except what we believe, not what I'm reading, seeing, or facts that I have seen, from the state yet. So.
Well, in the absence of facts, we all kind of have our opinions of which way it's going to go, and unfortunately, there isn't an objective system to be able to point to at this point.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Kathy.
I agree with my colleague Pete, but I am going to support this, and it just falls on the select board and the town administrator. If their calculations are incorrect, then they're going to be stuck with very difficult choices in the fall. So my sense is they've obviously chosen to take on that tackle in the fall if what I believe and Mr. Berube believes comes to fruition. But for the time being, I'm going to support this and go from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Any further discussion on this article? All right. Then all in favor of recommending approval of this article, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm aye. Doug?
Aye.
Pete?
Okay.
Hey, Craig?
I'm going to try to do the emoticon.
Kathy? I see she's thumbs up. And Jim?
No.
Okay. So we have...
It doesn't pass.
So with 4 ayes and 2 noes, it doesn't pass?
I'm not sure. Maybe we can ask Arian, but I thought you need,
Just in majority.
I thought it was the majority of those present.
it is the majority.
Present and voting.
I thought you needed 5 of the 9, but that's okay. All right.
I understand it's majority of those present and voting.
Okay. All right. So motion carries.
All right.
So it's
Thank
majority of those present, as long as you have a quorum.
Okay.
Okay. So I have 3 and 2. Okay.
I mean, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, people obviously have reasons, but I walked out of my CEO meeting to get here, and I have my son's 21st birthday tonight that I'm sitting in here for right now too, because this is important stuff, and this is a vote that matters. I mean, the other ones are good information to have, but this is when we actually go on record. So this is an important vote.
Majority.
Yeah. Yep. I'm glad
All
we
right,
have a
I'll move that we approve the recommend approval operating sewer enterprise fund for $1,420,245.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 4 as stated. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
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 That's an emoticon.
Yeah. Any opposed? Jim, did I get you?
I said aye.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Keep the perpetual thumbs up on this. All
All
right.
right.
I'll move that we approve the Water Enterprise Fund, recommend approval of Water Enterprise Fund for $1,688,941. $1,688,941.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 5 for the Water Enterprise Fund. Further discussion on this article? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thumbs up.
Aye.
Indicate. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, I move that we vote to approve the transfer available funds for the Stormwater Enterprise Fund beginning July 1st, 2020, in the amount of $557,870.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 6 for Stormwater Enterprise Funding. Further discussion? All in favor, please indicate aye.
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 All right. I saw everyone aye on that one, so motion carries. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move that we vote to approve and recommend consent article number 7, which includes a number of items. Item number 1, the town to adopt amendment to Schedule A, the salary plan of the town of Millis. Item 2, see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Health to appoint any of its members to another town office or position for which it has appointing authority. Item 3, to see if the town will vote to establish fiscal year spending limits for the town's revolving funds, as is normally done every year. Item 4, to see if the town will vote and approve a sum of money for reserve fund for the Community Preservation Fund, for Historic Resource Reserve, Community Housing Reserve, and Open Space Reserve, with a number of appropriations that as listed in the motions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 7 consent agenda with several different items in there as described. Further discussion? All in favor, please indicate aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Article 8.
Madam Chair?
Madam Chair, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you.
You go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, I'd like to make a motion that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $36,500 for an independent audit of all accounts of all departments of the town.
Is that from free cash?
That's what it says.
Yeah, it says free cash.
Okay, on our article list, it says taxation.
I don't think we have money left in taxation.
Okay. Did I get a
Not sure we have any
second?
free cash either, but yeah.
Second.
Second, yeah.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 8 for the independent audit in the amount of $36,500. Further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate aye.
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 Any opposed? I didn't hear Pete. Yeah,
Sorry,
all right,
thank
he
you.
got the, yeah.
I'm already focusing on Article 9.
Okay, so motion
like that.
passes unanimously. All right, Article 9.
Madam Chair, I move that we vote to recommend approval of transfer of funds from stabilization fund or borrowing the sum of $485,100 to fund capital projects, those being committed bus leases and for $89,999, committed computer leases for $46,600, committed police cruiser leases for $31,913, a crosswalk side signals project in the amount of $40,000, the drinking water risk resilience assessment for $40,000, the water tank and assessment management program in the amount of $199,921, and the radio communication system for DPW vehicles in the amount of $36,667, totaling $485,100.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 9 for several capital items as described in total amount of $485,100. Further discussion?
I just want to make a comment, if I may, Madam Chair.
Sure, go ahead.
Along the lines of my pessimistic budget view for our outlook for 2021, I'm not in favor of funding all of these projects and programs, although I do support them. I participated in the capital planning committee. We did vet these projects, and this is the rank, essentially the rank order of projects, with some exceptions in terms of some were enterprise funds, so that they would be funded from the enterprise fund, not necessarily from the general fund. So I support these projects, and they are important to do, but given what I think the outlook is on the budget, I don't think we're in a particular situation for some of these items that are not must fund. I understand that some of these items are must funds, like committed leases. Essentially, the crosswalk signals project I do support because it also has an element of reducing cost going forward for the crossing guards, which would be eliminated from the FY21 budget. I also understand that the radio communication, those devices are being funded, what you see there, from enterprise funds and also from a portion from FY20 general fund. So actually, I do think that this has been pared down quite a bit. I will likely abstain from this vote.
Madam Chair,
Thank you. Yes, Kathy?
if I would also just like to opine that I think it's unfortunate that the general fund is not contributing perhaps at least 5 or 10% to the water tank assessment management program. Water is used, for fires and other things on homes that are not on town water. And I think it would just show a little bit of good faith toward the town if they would partake in a little bit of this contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Further discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving this article, please indicate aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstaining?
I abstain.
Okay, so motion carries with 4 ayes and 1 abstaining. Article 10.
I'll move that the town that we recommend to fund $23,300 for middle school computer leases for a new set of leases for another 3 years. So commit the town for 3 years from free cash.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 10 for new computer leases for the school department in the amount of $23,300 from free cash. Further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate aye.
Madam Chair.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. For discussion, Mr. Kaczynski, perhaps, Madam Chair, you can direct this to him. I'm curious if the COVID capital, the CARES funding that just went through, if any computers were included in that funding, as we can foresee that our technology needs are only going to grow as a result of distance learning, or whatever the official term we're using for what we've been going through and could be doing in the future. I'm just wondering if there are any projects on that list that include new computers.
Yes. On the municipal side, there are a number of computers that were put forward as part of that request, as could be related back to the COVID-19 pandemic, such as portable devices to support remote participation and attendance and remote work, as well as the remote learning and education through the school's request. So there were a number of computer and IT items placed within the request.
Would those, if funded through CARES request, would those offset this need potentially?
No.
I can't answer that. That would be a school question, so I couldn't give you a direct answer to that question. I would have to defer that to the school administration.
On the COVID-19, it is only COVID-19 related. These computers, what they had said last time when they were here, this is for the computer lab over at the high school. This is not COVID-19 related.
I'm not sure how you distinguish a computer as to whether it's COVID-19 related or not. My point being, though, that if we had technology needs that the future state of and process of learning that we can anticipate in the town required computers going forward, we should have requested those under our CARES submission. And perhaps if those could offset a current need, that would be even more reason to put the project forward. Nonetheless, I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
All right, further discussion on this article? All right, all in favor, please indicate aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I think that was all of us, so motion carries unanimously. Article 11.
I'll move that the town I move that the town will appropriate $135,887.97 to increase the funding for the DPW budget from $3,900,000 to $4,035,887.97. This money to come from three articles that had been voted in the past to improve the DPW garage prior to the decision to go with a full renovation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 11, which will reallocate funds approved in prior town meetings to the DPW capital project in the amount of $135,877.97. Further discussion on this article? All right, all in favor, please indicate aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, motion carries unanimously.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we vote to recommend that the town authorize the select board to enter into a contract of up to 25 years for the purpose of inspecting, maintaining, repairing, modifying, and providing asset management services for the town's water tanks at Farm Street and Walnut Street.
Second.
I believe it's 20 years.
20 years?
20 years.
You are correct. I
I'll second
amend
that.
my motion to 20 years.
I'll second it at 20 years.
It's been
I would
moved and
second it at 25 too, but that's not what it said.
been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 12, which will ratify a water infrastructure maintenance contract as described. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye or indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Article 13.
Madam Chair, I move that the committee vote to recommend that the town appropriate the sum of $600 from the Community Preservation Historic Resource Reserve Fund for preservation and rehabilitation of the Henry F. Walling map.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 13 in the amount of $600 for the preservation of the Walling map. Further discussion? All in favor, please indicate aye.
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 All right, motion carries unanimously. Article 14.
Madam Chair, I move that the committee recommend to approve that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $74,558.49 from the Community Preservation Fund Open Space Reserve for the Memorial Fields Improvements Project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 14 in the amount of $74,558.49 from the Community Preservation Fund Open Space Reserve for the Memorial Fields Improvements Project. Further discussion on this article? All in favor, please indicate aye.
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 That motion carries unanimously. Article 15, sorry.
Madam
Madam
Chair,
Chair.
go ahead, Kathy.
Oh. I make a motion that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $15,600 for fiscal year 2021 personal property interim year inspections and real estate interim year revaluations.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 15 in the amount of $15,600 as described. Further discussion on this article? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Article 16.
Madam Chair, I move that the committee vote to recommend that the town vote to transfer, the town approved transfer of free cash, the sum of $5,000 for Medicare, Medicaid reimbursement services.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 16 in the amount of $5,000 from free cash to for Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement services. Further discussion on this article? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, motion carries unanimously. And Article 17.
Madam Chair, I move that the committee vote to recommend that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $13,566 and transfer from free cash the sum of $61,434 for a total sum of $75,000 for the unemployment insurance fund.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to recommend approval of Article 17 in the amount of $75,000 for the unemployment insurance fund. Further discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Thank you, everyone. That was should help us as we move forward to write up our articles, which are due to Deirdre on Monday. Is that right?
Yes, that'd be
Call me
great.
Monday afternoon. Tell me I forgot.
If I could get them over the weekend, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah.
It's whatever works for you guys, but Monday, definitely.
Okay. So drop dead noon on Monday, basically.
That sounds good.
Okay. So if you don't see one from Craig on Monday morning, then harass
Call
him.
me.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else that we need to discuss in terms of the warrant articles before I move on to our old business, new business? All right. So let's look at the meeting materials. We had a request from the moderator or incoming presumptive moderator, shall we say, about
Like clever writing campaign works, which is just me writing my own name.
because people are beating down the door to become town moderator. Real brawl. So these are notes that are being requested to include in our finance committee report, I'm assuming, of where the town meeting will be held, how it will be kind of organized, that everyone, I mean, it has, I did have a question on it that I'm not sure anyone here can answer, but it says attendees are urged to wear masks, so it's not a requirement.
I can speak to that if you'd like.
That would be great.
Sure. So everyone is required, well, everyone's encouraged to wear masks. If we can't legally make everybody wear masks though, because there could be, there could be various reasons why somebody might not. So we are going to have a section that we will guide people to specifically if they're unwilling or unable to wear a mask.
Oh, okay.
What are we doing?
So you guys are, so we still, obviously Donna's going to be the moderator. It's really not going to be my show, but we all did a walkthrough of the gym at the middle high school, and they're going to do a mock setup for us this week to take a look at it. But as it stands, there's going to be one entrance and one exit. So when you walk into the double doors that we usually walk into before you check in, you'll go right into the gym through the left doorway. And then the stage, if you will be all the way to your right along that wall. So the FinCom will be sitting on bleachers on the right side. So bear that in mind, that it would be bleacher seating when you choose attire. And then
No skirt.
thank you, Craig. I was trying to dance around that a little bit.
Please, no kilts. No
Yeah.
kilts.
The kilt's out.
No kilts. And then the moderator will obviously be in the center, and then on the bleachers on the other side of her would be folks like Mr. Kaczynski and Ms. Johnston and the select board and the clerk's office. And then the seats, there would be seats that would be already distanced by 6 feet in front, behind, and to the sides. So there will be also masks if people happen to need them. If you don't have your own, there'll be sanitizer, and everything will be like measured out for distancing while checking in. Is that helpful?
It is.
Okay.
We're trying to figure out how we're going to handle the mic, both literally and figuratively.
Yep. So what they're doing, what the current discussion was that there's a sanitizer spray that would be sprayed onto the microphones after each speaker. So there is that. If somebody needs to adjust the microphone, we do have gloves that would be available, and a trash can that somebody could put on the glove, adjust the mic if they had to, and then throw that away. For you guys, they were looking into how many microphones they could get. I believe the last piece of the conversation had to do with maybe having some small tables at kind of like aisles down the bleachers, so when somebody was going to present, they could get up and go to that kind of table. It's all very close in proximity, but aside from getting 9 microphones, which would have been like 9 cordless microphones would have been ideal, I think they're trying to make it so that there's just a group of you use this mic, a group of you use that mic, and another group of you use this mic, and we'll have the spray sanitizer in between.
This is going to be a long meeting, even without discussion.
I volunteer to just talk really loudly.
Yeah, I was going to do the same. I was going to shout.
Well, that was a part of the discussion too, because the assumed new moderator, Donna, was very confident that she could project, and if I was the one that had to be in there, I feel like I could project as well. It's a gym. I mean, it's going to carry pretty well. So it's going to be up to her. It's her show. I don't know if she's gonna. I think we might try to test it out. Test out like a mock tiny meeting or something. But I don't know if she'll opt for that. What's that?
Out of one of these. They make
Hey, whatever works, I guess. So those are the details we have so far. Like I said, they're actually planning to set everything up for Donna and the team. The Board of Health was there and everything to take a look at it by tomorrow or over the weekend or whatnot, so that we can kind of solidify the layout, and then we could have some folks come in and just see how the flow works.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of including the notes in our Finance Committee report, I don't think is that something that we need to vote on? Or is that something that we can just make an executive decision to include?
You can make an executive decision.
I think it should say that it's coming from the moderator, not from the finance committee,
Yeah, a note from the moderator. That would be great.
right?
Yep.
Instead of, that, just my suggestion.
Yeah, I think that makes
I like
sense. Yep. So, yeah, so we can do that. And let's look at our agenda. Any other new business that we should attend to while we're here?
Yeah, I do have a question about the 24th. Will we be meeting prior in the classroom like we typically do?
We have to.
Yeah, so they're going to have space set up for you guys to meet as you usually do. I need to check with the school committee to see if they need space, and the select board usually uses the library. I don't know if it's still going to be the same space, but they'll have a meeting space as well as per usual. So that will be factored in for you guys.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we are not meeting next week, correct?
I wouldn't think there's a reason.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything
But we-
outstanding that we would need to meet on.
But we do still need to discuss and meet on Article 2, correct? So we will have to have,
Yes, but we can do that on the 24th, which is our pre-town meeting.
right, that's what I'm saying. So we do still need to meet.
Before town meeting, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, we have to have a pre-town meeting before the town meeting.
And then night of town meeting, sometimes there are some little changes that pop up even last minute. So, you know, we can Zoom from the house and then go, or we can meet in the parking lot.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When I interjected about the room, I actually meant town meeting night, not the 24th when you do your
Right.
town meeting. Sorry.
Yep. I think pre-town meeting will still be in Zoom format.
It will. That's how it was advertised today. It had to be advertised 2 weeks prior. So.
Yep. That works for me.
Yeah.
So, and that will be our next meeting. All right. Thank you very much, Aaron, for helping to answer some of those questions for us. So then we have our meeting minutes.
Madam Chair, I move that we vote to approve the meeting minutes from the May 27th meeting of the FinCom as written.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our meeting minutes from May 27th as written. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate aye.
Is that the one I missed? Or did I miss
Aye.
last?
Aye.
You missed last week.
Yep.
All right. Aye. I'll approve 27.
Now we have to keep track of your absences.
Yeah.
This is too much. Come on, Doug.
Just like we have to keep track of your dissensions.
Thank you. You don't have to, actually. Deirdre does that. Anyway, Madam Chair, I move that we vote to approve the meeting minutes from June 3rd as written.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our meeting minutes of June 3rd as written. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And we have one abstaining. Okay, so both minutes are approved, just in case there's any question because we got excited there. All right, so we're not going to meet next week, and our next meeting will be pre-town meeting, June 24th on Zoom. As far as the warrant articles, we basically just have Article 2 that still has some items pending. But other than that, you know, we've basically been able to recommend approval or make our recommendations on every article. So any other discussion before I entertain a motion? All right.
Madam Chair, I move to we adjourn.
Any
Second.
seconds?
All right, everyone.
Thanks, Doug.
Kind of snuck up on me.
Well, like it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you,
Aye.
everyone. Thank you so much for
Thanks a
being
lot,
here.
Jody. Thanks, Deirdre, for getting the hard copies.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good week. See you on the 24th.
Yep.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.